Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to the War Thunder official channel. My name is Marcus Boom, and I'm joined here by the lovely Tom, aka Oxy. Hello, Tom. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing just fine as well, because we have something special today. Welcome everyone to the official preview of the upcoming patch in War Thunder. Red Skies. Interesting name. I like that one, actually.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
It's easier to say than Ixwa Strike.
It is, which I've never pronounced.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually learned how to pronounce it properly.
I don't think so either. No, terrible. Nightmare.
Anyway, welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the vehicles, features, maps, and all the good stuff that are coming in the next update, coming soon to War Thunder. A couple of PSAs, I suppose. What you're going to be seeing in the stream is one, work in progress, so all the stats you see, all the models you see, camos, ammunition, is not final. Things might still change until the dev server and until the patch itself, so keep an eye out on that. And I actually forgot what the second part was. Oh yeah, the order. We are going to structure it in a way that you guys can better follow along. Instead of showing like all the vehicles of each nation at once, we are going to first show all of the tanks, because we know there are quite a few tankers who are going to be very interested in some of the vehicles that have been shown in the Russian dev stream a few hours ago. We are then going to switch over to aircraft, and then at the end we're going to switch over to naval and interject with some of the new maps as well. So, how about we start with the first one?
How about we start? Let's go.
Now, America doesn't get any tanks, at least not yet. Keep in mind there might still be some more vehicles in the works that we don't have quite ready to show during the stream. But let's start with the Germans. The Germans finally getting one of the vehicles that have been asking for a long time. The Marder 1. This is currently a 7.0 battle rating tank. This is not final, keep this in mind. What this essentially is an IFV which has the same cannon as you can find on the Kampfpanzer 70 as the top cannon.
That's 2K as well.
Yeah, this actually, Leopard 2K as well, which is quite powerful. It doesn't penetrate the most amount of armor, keep in mind it's still a 20mm autocannon, but it is quite powerful in taking out tracks and enemy cannon barrels as well.
Yeah, it's actually deceptively good against aircraft, I found. Like, it's usually one
as
or two
well, yes.
brings them down, yeah.
Although I believe this one doesn't quite have the full elevation. I mean, 65 degrees is still very good, but it can't point quite straight up.
Not too bad.
But what you lack in anti-armor capabilities with the main gun, you can compensate with the Milan 80 gem. You sadly only get 4 of them. I'm also going to interject here and go into Reddit mode, so you guys can see some of the stats. You can see the big old work in progress at the top, indicating that this is not final. And for the main gun, we have DM43 APRT, 57mm penetration. You won't really go through the front of most tanks, but through the sides you can actually do some decent work. I've killed quite a few, at least in the test drives, from the side with the autocannon, of course. The RH202 has a very high fire rate. You also have the Milan 80 gem. This is not the best, not the worst. It's got a decent speed. It is mouse aimed, which is good. 530mm of penetration. Firing range is a bit limited, and you are going to have some issues against ERA, especially Russian ERA. This is not a tandem heat warhead, so ERA is going to defeat this thing. But still, it's a nice option for what is actually a pretty low rank in comparison vehicle.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, the Milan's pretty good. Same one as on the Warrior, the first ATGM it gets. So it's pretty decent. I've had a decent experience with it in the past. It's not like the best one, but I don't know. I find it's more reliable than the TOW, like for me at least. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this thing works. I mean, I don't know. The main gun for me is always just brilliant against helis and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Can we also just talk about this thing over here?
I know.
What is that? What Germany? Why? Germany, explain.
I don't know. It is a bit strange.
This is supposed to be a machine gun at the rear in its own like separate turret, but it looks a bit weird, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess it's like more for infantry rather than
that is the
else,
thing. It doesn't make sense. This is an IFE. This is supposed to be for infantry support. As you can see, it basically has no armor. You're not really going to defeat anything with this. But interesting, which you might have noticed from the X-ray here. Do you notice how the crew is very low here in the turret and how the gun is way above as well as the AT-GEM? I have a feeling you can probably, especially now with the new commander sights, which we're going to show off in a second as well, which this one might not get, but still, at least the regular gun sights should have it. You can probably hide behind a hill pretty effectively and only dispose the gun.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Thing, of course, is you're going to have the AT-GEM here and the ammo belt, so you can still get ammo racked, but I have a feeling this is going to be quite a sneaky one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this should be quite a sneaky one. Okay, moving on to the next one. A new Tanque Argentino Median, I think it is.
I think so.
Yes,
Very good.
Tank Argentino Merdiano. This is the TAM. This time a premium version, the TAM 2 IP. This is an improvement on the early TAM that we have, with a bit of added protection against chemical shells. You might notice that it's a bit more chunky. It has nice side skirts. And a very interesting looking turret as well, I have to say. This is it looks very kind of like mini Leopard 2A6, I have to say.
It looks a bit like the Nexus, but squashed.
Yes, actually, it's a very good point, yeah.
It's quite sweet. I like it.
You have it over there as well. Can you show some of the armor values that we have?
Yeah, we can have a look. So yeah, we've got all the extra plates here. Base armor, I'm pretty sure, is pretty much the same as the regular TAM. Yeah, it's sort of improved superficially, I guess, from some heat projectiles. It's obviously going to be a bit better, but generally speaking, I mean, it's not going to survive any of the more standard rounds you're going to be seeing at the tier.
I mean, yeah, and especially now with the overpressure damages as well, it's going to find its way through nooks and crannies. You might survive some heat shells and maybe some SBAA, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the internal layout, which is pretty much still the same. It of course have a massive ammo rack here in the back of the turret, which is going to be a little bit of an issue, I have to say. But we'll see how that goes. And because I know that Reddit wants to see it, let's take a look at the stats. Whoa! All the modification, you have a laser rangefinder, you have DM33, you have all that good stuff. Yeah, it's pretty much just a TAM with premium bonuses and a bit of extra chunk armor. And interesting base cam as well. I
It's
like the
really
base cam
nice, yeah. I'm very simple in that way, so I do like the camos.
There you go, bit of stats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the modifications are going to be very similar. This is just a slight upgrade over towards what we have. Okay, let's move on to the next vehicle that we have. Tom is going to show off.
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting little addition over there.
It is. I had no idea this existed. I'd wager most people probably had no idea this existed. It's quite a bizarre thing. But yeah, this is the Concept 3. It doesn't even have a name. It's just like Idea 3.
But
so
what happened to Concept 1 and 2?
You don't want to know that. That's for
Ominous.
That's for later. But yes, this thing pretty nice. I really like the kind of, I don't know. It's obviously like a more modern vehicle as well, because even at 4.3 currently, this thing has a laser rangefinder. And we can sort of show a new feature of this in the test drive in a second. But so this thing is effectively equipped with the, it's like the shorter 17-pounder version, which was used on the Comet. So it doesn't have quite the same performance. It's a little bit worse than the standard 17-pounder. Doesn't get the Sabo shell either right now, just the standard AP shots. But it also features pretty decent mobility. Armor-wise, you know, nothing impressive really. You may see some bounces on this, like if you're lucky, but again, you know, it's not really armor that in any way is going to be reliable. But there is a new feature we can sort of show off in RB at least. This has always been the case, not always been the case, but more recently been the case in Simulator. For RB now, if you go into the site, hit a little range find, wham bam, thank you ma'am.
Oh my god, that wasn't you, was it?
That wasn't me at all. Does it for you. Look at that. Technology did that for me. So, this is the case for all tanks in RB mode that use a laser rangefinder, so you can effectively press the button and it will also range. Yeah, so there's nothing really else to go into with that particular advantage. But, I mean, this is going to change a lot, I think.
Quick question, Tom. What shell are you using right now on this one?
I think it's the final shell. Is it Mark 8 or Mark 6? I'm not sure. It's different for
the Mark 8. In my test drive, it actually did a lot of spalling damage. Like, a lot of spalling damage.
They are really good for that. Like these, the AP of the British get.
Very much so. Now, this is a real vehicle. Are you in a realistic mode, yeah?
Should be RB, yep.
It's got decent mobility. It does have a high top speed of around 92 km per hour, I believe. It's of course not going to be that fast on rough terrain, given that it is a wheeled vehicle, so don't expect to do too well on frozen paths and stuff like that, which is going to just bog you down. But on city maps with paved roads, this is going to be quite a fast little boy. Yeah. And as you can see, it doesn't have any stabilizers, sadly. Yep. But honestly, this is probably for the better, given the battle rating it is at currently. Keep in mind, work in progress, battle ratings are subject to change, all the good stuff. But I'm looking forward to this. I mean, the Brits always needed some mobile vehicles to compensate for their assault tanks, and this is quite an interesting one.
It's going to be really good if it stays at 4.7, because they've got the lineup there with the Church 7, the Avenger, Firefly. They've got like a whole lineup of good stuff.
True.
So that's going to be a huge like buff to that lineup there with the light tank.
I think honestly, it's in terms of gameplay, I would say this plays a bit like a British EBR, but without the high penetration shells.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the autoloader, of course.
Yeah, it sort of fills a different role. I mean, they didn't really have any light vehicles that could really be used there. I mean, the only thing really before, I mean, with the armored cars, so the predecessor to this design, and then the AEC, if you had that, sort of lucky enough to have that, so they didn't really have anything light this low down. So yeah, it's going to be interesting wherever it ends up, but it offers a different play style in any case, which is always nice. I'm a fan.
Indeed. Okay, shall we move on to the next nation? Next up we have Japan. Which doesn't quite get new indigenous designs, at least just right now. Keep in mind there might still be more additions before the launch of the patch. We have the Japanese M47 now coming to the game in the tech tree. I'm actually going to show you the position of it in the tech tree right after the STA3. Filling a little bit of a gap here between the STA3 and the STB1. Sadly, there's currently no other Japanese tank, at least not in RB mode, that has a 7.3 battle rating, so it doesn't really have a full lineup with it, but I discovered something.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense. Because you know what else is at 7.3?
Ooh, yes.
The R2Y2s.
It's going to be pretty good, yeah. I mean, it's kind of nice that it's in this spot because you can sort of use it as a backup to the STB now at 7.7, and you can main it if you want to use, well, you have the premium type 75, or if you have the, you probably use the Hurry prototype as well, production rather, in that lineup at 7.3. Like, it's not going to be like amazing at that BR anymore, but
that's the thing, 7.3, it doesn't really matter too much if you up tier yourself from 7.0 to 7.3 because you don't really see many 6.0 down tiers anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
mostly
really
everyone plays 6.3, where like the first Tiger Porsche is, for example.
Yeah.
And since it is 7.3, you also don't get up tiered into 8.7. So it's a nice spot.
Yeah,
even though it doesn't really have a backup to the lineup other than the R2Y2s, it is still a nice spot. You don't really sacrifice too much by bringing your 7.0 lineup up. I can show you some of the camos as well. I mean, these are pretty much the standard Japanese camos, nothing special there. The late green, I do like this camo a lot.
It's really nice.
This is really, really nice.
Like, it should be like super simple, but it just works with these tanks in a way that it doesn't on like the other vehicles, which is kind of nifty to me.
And we also have the shells, which are basically your standard 90mm cannon shells for the Americans. It's an M47, but for the Japanese. There you go.
Pretty much.
Now, we have something quite interesting for China, actually. A lot of interesting things for China. For the longest time, we have heard our players asking for Radar SPA for China. Up until now, the top-tier Chinese lineup has been lacking a little bit. They've been getting some vehicles here and there, but they've been lacking in their ability to defend themselves against air.
Yeah.
So how about we change that? Let me just quickly make sure I'm not leaking something. Okay, we're good. Welcome, 3 new Japanese vehicles. Let's start out with the least interesting one. Chinese, I'm sorry. I just created a massive political scandal, haven't I?
No. Talk about the lovely vehicles, Mike. Talk about
the lovely vehicles. The WMA 301 is the new premium vehicle for the Chinese factory. This is basically a PTL02. Where is it? Yep. PTL02 at slightly higher battle ranking because it has a slightly better cannon. This comes equipped with a 105mm cannon, not 100mm cannon like the PTL02 in the tech tree does. What this allows you to do, which is not quite ready quite yet, so keep in mind this still plays other stuff, you can fire a HEVT shell against aircraft, which is going to be quite interesting. You have still the same APTS as you do on the PTL02, but you can fire an ATGM through the cannon barrel itself. And this is a tandem warhead.
Oh, it is? Yeah, I didn't notice that. Oh, very nice.
Which means not only do we have a ton of penetration with this ATGM, it is mouse aimed, of course, as well. And has actually pretty decent speed. Did you see that? 370 meters per second is not bad for an ATGM. Yeah. That's really good. Nice. Of course, you're going to suffer a bit in reload time, 23 seconds when you load the ATGM, because it takes a lot longer to shove in an ATGM than it does to shove in a shell. But essentially, what this allows you to do is defeat ERA with little to no issues. You have the first shell, you can see in the animation, you have the first part of the warhead, which is like a smaller heat warhead exploding the ERA block. And then you have the second larger warhead right behind to go through the armor itself, which makes it really quite nice. I can give you a quick test drive just to show you the mobility. I mean, it is the PTL02 base, so you're not really going to see too much of a difference there. But we can show you a bit of the mobility in that regard. And also if it has stuff like night vision, which it does. Not the most high of resolutions, but it is actually quite usable. I think this should be about generation 2.
I think it's 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite useful. It is really quite useful. Nice. Sadly, I don't have any aircraft in the test drive to test the HEVT shells against, but you get the general gist of it. Wheeled vehicle. I still can't believe how derpy this thing looks from the front, to be honest.
I know,
Look at it!
It looks like a toy. Do you know what I mean?
It really does.
Like,
I do like that it has real stealing like the Parkwagen does, which is really quite nice. Makes it actually quite mobile in close quarters. And the camo is really nice as well.
It is, yeah.
I love the Chinese camos. They're absolutely amazing. But it just... that hull is way too turby.
It is.
Way too turby.
It's like a little chibi.
Very much.
Bless.
Oh well. Okay. Let's move on to the main star of the show, at least when it comes to the Chinese tech tree, which are the 2 Radar SPAA. Yeah, not only 1, you're getting 2. Rejoice! The 5 Chinese players out there who have top tier.
Oh man, they're having a whale of a time. Even better now.
Yes, even better now. Okay, starting off with the PGZ09. This looks like a Gepard, because it basically is. This is the new 8.0 battle rating SPAA coming right after the WZ305. Of course, going to be... actually, I'm not even sure if it's going to be better, because the ZSU57 that this WZ305 is based on doesn't have the fuse shell, so it's more of a TD, really. This one does, though.
Yeah, it does. That's the point.
But it doesn't have radar.
It doesn't, no.
This one does.
And it's actually very, very mobile, this thing, actually. It's deceptively quick.
Let me quickly load up the ground realistic stats. Yeah, that's over 20 horsepower per ton. That's not bad at all. For tracked vehicle, decent top speed as well. It is quite a low hull, which is nice. Of course, you're going to have a massive profile with the turret and the SPA, the radar on top as well. But yeah, it's quite an interesting one. Now, this does get the same ammunition loads as the Gepard right now. You have this DM23 30mm shell with 127mm of penetration, which is more than enough to go through the sides of any tank, any top tier tank you're going to face. But much like the Gepard, it does have the limited ammunition reserve of this shell. So if you do want to take out the M23, I think you only have around 30 shells. We can actually test that out on test drive real quick. And you have to keep that in mind if you want to use this in a anti-tank capability, which you shouldn't really be doing mainly. This is an anti-aircraft vehicle, given that it has the radar.
Yeah, but it's pretty quick, though.
It doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Good acceleration, actually, for realistic mode, especially.
So the maneuverability on it, like the way it's sort of turning and everything, it's decent.
I believe it also gets thermal sights, and these are actually really quite clear.
Yeah.
I don't mind these at all. And as you can see, you have a quite limited amount of the shells, but decently quick reload between switching the belts, so you're not really stuck loading for too long if you want to switch to your AA belts. And for the secondary belt, you can also take the API shells, which have about 68mm of penetration, I believe. Now, this does have radar. If I can find an aircraft flying around, where are you? Should be around there somewhere.
They go quite low over that side, I think.
They do. They usually tend to go behind the hill. There you go. So you do have the radar to lock onto. It does give you the leading if it's within range, but you don't get any proxy shells with this SPA in particular, so you have to hit them directly. You have plenty of ammo and plenty of fire rate, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue. And it has a decent low profile as well, but yeah, keep it in mind. Okay, I just want to test something. The reverse speed.
Look at him go.
That is not great, but not terrible either.
I fly 8.0 for like kind of backing out into cover. Like it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah. It's not too bad. I mean, it's not as bad as some of the Russian tanks out there. That's for sure.
This is very true.
And there you go. He's got a hole in his left wing.
That's very funny.
Incredibly funny. But this is not the only radar SPA that China is getting this patch. No. We have one that is even kind of more amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of.
You've seen the devlog for it already, of course. This is the PGZ04A. This is based on the same chassis as the previous one, but with a different turret, a Chinese native design, and I really like the way these guns look.
They just look mean.
They look
so mean.
See, the thing is, normally on other SPA, you don't really see them because they're like in a housing or something like that. These are completely exposed.
They're just hanging out.
They are amazing. And you notice some weird tubes above the top as well.
Curious.
Curious. I wonder what that might be.
Me too.
Yeah. This is going to be your top tier SPAA with 25mm gun. Think of it kind of like a Shellcat with a little bit more power, perhaps.
Yeah, these are, unless I'm misremembering, these are the same 25mm that are found on the anti-air earlier in the tree.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
The name I cannot recall. On the very long reload, but pretty decent damage against aircraft. So yeah, the guns themselves are pretty good, like kind of Saddam-y. You know what I mean? like the Italian one. So yeah, they're pretty good.
In this case, you can take a full belt with the AP if you want to. Although you're going to be suffering a bit against aircraft if you are going to do that. Although you do have the SAMs to do that, to compensate for that.
SAMs? What could they be?
Oh my god, what could they be? There you go. You can see the stats on the screen right now. These are your surface-to-air missiles. You can get a total of 4 of them. And these are not amazing. These are not amazing. I have a feeling you're not going to have the greatest of time trying to go against aircraft with these. But against helicopters, these are actually quite good. Okay. Let's move on to Italy. Tom has been waiting for a while now to show off his... You like this one, don't you?
I do. I like it. For many ways. Look at it. Look at this boy. We've been waiting for this for a really long time, and it's a very cool one indeed. Dardo, IFV, pretty nice. Lots of interesting features about this one. It's kind of... I want to say it's not too dissimilar as an analog to the M3A3 Bradley right now, because it does similar things, but it's a very, very different functionally. So we have a look at the stats here. It fires... I think this is the same belt that the M3A3 fires as well.
It's the same belt and also gets the TOW2Bs.
TOW2Bs, regular TOW2s, and everything else here. It doesn't quite get the same level of thermal. I believe it's only 2, and I think Bradley gets 3, the Gen 3. Armor-wise, we can take a look. It's nothing really impressive. At this point, you're not going to be expecting anything impressive from vehicles like this, but doesn't really matter. I think there's also an extra bit of armor underneath this extra plate here. So if we can take it into a little test drive, have a neb. One actually different feature about this is that the gun fires incredibly quick. It's nearly 3 times as quick as the regular Bradley's gun. It is very speedy.
It is actually rapid. That's actually really good.
It's faster than the ADATs as well, I think. So yeah, pretty nice. Very responsive, very mobile. Has the thermals as well. Gen 1, I believe that is. So nothing amazing. But for the vehicle itself, not bad at all. And it does get the TOW2s as well. These are, I think, the regular TOWs?
No, the TOW2Bs, they are the top-down firing ones.
That's the one, yeah. There's also a new sound, I think. We couldn't work out if it was like the proper sound or it was like a very sped-up clip. But it does sound like a new sound.
I think it sounds like a cable being pulled.
Yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah, it's a very nice sound, actually. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. I like all the little details and stuff.
Can you check out the reverse speed real quick off this thing?
I can.
So this plays quite similar to the M3A3 we introduced in the last update. And the TOW2Bs are really quite menacing.
Yeah, very nice little tank.
I like the camo on the Italian tanks as well. This one's quite nice.
Yeah, like the late camo is really nice.
Very nice indeed.
They've got a good thing going on. I can respect that. And very fast as well. I believe the reload's quite quick as well. It's very quick to change the belts. Just carries on. Carries on.
That's actually really good.
Doesn't care. Just doesn't care.
Not bad at all.
Unless the gun overheats, in which case it does care. But nevertheless, mostly pretty good.
There you go. Something else for the Italians.
Yeah.
Now the Italians are not the only minor nation getting some love this patch. We have something for the French as well.
Yes, we do. I will.
It's a weird one. This is going to be a parental advisory, okay? What you're about to see might scar you.
Maybe.
Well, Tom will show you because this is just
again, it looks like a toy. Look at it. It's like as tall as it is long.
What is that?
I mean, it's the ITO 90M.
You might notice this. You might know it as the Crotal NG. This is a French SPAA, and it. No, I can't deal with it. It is a 5G tower on it. Look at it.
That is quite immense.
Why is it so tall?
I can't answer that, I'm afraid, but pretty nice. Gets the VT1 as well, which is the same as the
good missile.
Flarak,
yeah.
It do. And so yeah, the performance of this thing, pretty nice. It only gets the missiles that are in the tubes, so it doesn't get a reload right now. It's decently mobile, or not so much off-road. Just, what is that? Look at it. Look at that, like, visual dead zone I'm getting right now. Terrible.
Keep in mind right now, this is work in progress, so the animations aren't quite ready yet. I have a feeling that once they are ready, you will be able to at least take down the top part of the radar posts.
Yes.
It looks like it has the space behind to fall down, but yeah, just a weird one. Those missiles are actually really quite good. They are not lock-on missiles. You do have to guide them manually. They kind of like mouse aimed at gems, but for anti-aircraft duties. And they have a very long range, 10 kilometers, so they are very good for going up in helicopters that are hovering above the battlefield very far away.
They are. And if you sort of land them underneath tanks, you can pop them off as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, these are big missiles. I think 163 millimeters of diameter,
they
something
are
like that.
Immense.
They are, they pack a punch.
Hefty
they pack
boys.
a punch, for sure.
Hefty boys.
So, yeah, this is going to be the new French SPA with the VT1 missiles. Finally, a defense against the very long range helicopters out there, and I just can't get over how weird it looks.
It is a bit strange.
It's so derpy.
I cannot deny that.
I already thought the Flatrackrat was looking weird, but this is beating
Yeah,
that.
it sort of takes it to the next level in a way.
Very much so.
Indeed.
Okay, but the French are actually not the only ones getting this this SPA. No. We also have the Swedish getting the exact same vehicle, but with the Swedish camos, and I just have to shout out the Swedish camos here because they absolutely look amazing. I mean, the French one, they have a very interesting zebra kind of camo as well, the blue one.
Yeah, that's true.
But this one is even better. Now, you might notice this is actually a Finnish vehicle in the Swedish tech tree, of course. This was bought by the Finnish from the French. The vehicle itself is French. And you can now find it at the end of the SPAA line as well. Right after the Asteroid R.
Very cool.
Which is going to be a quite nice lineup together with your top tier vehicle. Especially now that, which is what I'm going to show you next, we have commander sites for top tier tanks. You might have seen the devlog that was posted, I believe, today or yesterday even. And it details a new site mechanic for top tier tanks. And I'm going to show you how it works with these SDRV 122 PLSS. Now, actually, yeah, okay, I can do it with the AG shells as well. So, this will require some keybinds or not, depending on what you want to do, really. So, by default, if you switch through the site options, you don't go to the commander site. What you can do, however, is go into the options, I believe in the ground vehicle battle settings, and there is an option over here which you can enable. It's not enabled by default, but you can enable it. And if you do that, you can switch to the commander side through cycling through the view. So first you have the gunner view, then you have the commander view. Now, the commander view by itself is separate from the controls of the turret. And you can see it's a bit slow. It does have a turret traverse speed, a side speed, which is not like the binoculars, which you can just flip around like crazy. Now, what this is going to do is change some things, which is mainly taking away some features from the binocular side. You might notice that I no longer have thermal sights on the binoculars. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh
What
no.
does this mean?
Oh no. But not to worry, because you now have thermal sights on the commander side. And you can zoom it in as well, which is going to make it a bit more useful at longer ranges than the binocular sights.
Yes, indeed.
Now, what you can also do is actually control the gun. So much like the binocular sights, if you point to somewhere and you tap or hold your fire button, it will put the turret towards that direction. It's like the commander telling the gunner to turn the turret. But what you can also do is, I need to quickly find it. I think it's commander, right? Commander fire control. I'm gonna put this on. No, some keybinds. Let's say no.
Go B. I use B.
I'll just use D. T. That works as well. Okay, there you go. You can also see you can actually bind a button if you want to directly go into commander view if you don't want to have it cycle through your views. And now that we have done this, I can press a button, and you can see a little pop-up on the top left. It's kind of obscured by the work in progress, but I hope you can see it properly. Now, the turret actually follows my commander side.
Yeah.
And now this is where things get spicy.
Spicy, he says.
Tom mentioned this before. All vehicles with a laser rangefinder can now, in RB modes, automatically adjust their range. So I'm going to go for, let's say, I'm actually going to switch over to my HE shell. It's going to fire this off in distance because it's going to be the best way of showing it off. I'm going to aim at, let's see, there's a tank over to the right side here, which is about 900 meters away, I believe.
At the neb.
Laser rangefind. Did you see that little blip? I'm going to do it in the gunner side as well. I'm just going to press the rangefinder button and nothing else.
Wow. What could this mean?
Curious. Laser rangefinders, tanks that are equipped with laser rangefinders can now automatically adjust the gun range at in RB mode. And this is any tank with laser rangefinders right now, which is quite good. You don't have to be in the commander side for that. And what this allows you to do is actually quite interesting, because by doing this, you might notice that in the commander side you don't have range lines. So if you don't really have a way of compensating for the altitude of the gun. But with this, you can. All you have to do is range find the targets, have the active aim mode on, and point and click essentially.
Yeah.
It's not going to be extremely useful with APF SDS because the one drawback I found the most is that you are not quite as accurate with the commander sights. It's a bit harder to pinpoint exactly where you want to shoot, especially because the gunner sight actually has a bit more zoom. As you can see, this is gunner sight. Commander sight doesn't have quite as much zoom, so at longer range it's not quite as accurate. but it's very quick. It's extremely quick and easy to use, which is quite nice. And especially when you use HE, it compensates automatically for the drop of the shell, which is incredibly good.
Pretty nice.
We're going to maybe answer some questions about this towards the end of the stream if you have some time left over. But let's actually show off one of the new maps. We have a new map to show you, a new tank map. Now, you have a vehicle ready?
Yes, I'll go with this one.
To show off? Okay. So I'm going to quickly create a custom battle, and I'm going to invite Tom in, and we are going to show you the new tank map called Red Sands, I believe?
Red Desert.
Red Desert. This is a map set in Africa, and it is intended to be for top-tier tanks.
Yes.
It's a quite large map with some wide open sidelines and some terrain cover every now and then. Let me quickly set this up, and I'm going to invite you as well.
Thanking you.
We're going to be showing you the view from the air and from the ground. Tom is going to be out in a ground vehicle, and I'm going to be out in an air vehicle. And we are going to see how it goes. Actually, I need to be on the enemy team just because we don't have bots enabled here.
No bots.
But we should be good to go. Okay.
Yep.
I'm also going to show you what the screen itself looks like when it loads. There you go, so you can get a bit of a general layout of the map.
It's a very big map though, like deceptively large from that picture I found.
It is. It is.
Is it about 3 kilometers across? Is it a bit more? A bit less?
Actually, it tells you about the bottom. Yeah, actually more. It might be 4 even.
It is, yeah.
You have the scale at the bottom, which tells you about the distance.
Quite immense.
Okay. Tom's going to bring out a tank. I'm going to bring out a Harrier to show you the map in hover mode from the skies. And we'll have a bit of a nap. Now, are you going to go towards the left side or the right side?
I'll go left side.
Left side, okay. I'll check out the valley in the middle area. You can see the caps are pretty much equidistant from both bases, which is good. Means that there's always a good fight over any cap. And we shall see how this goes.
Can you blow those up, I wonder?
That's a very bright map, actually. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
I'd say if I can, in terms of like content creation, desert maps are some of the best because the PC doesn't have to fight as much with contrast and dark edges.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. They always end up looking pretty good. I found that, yeah.
FPS also tend to be very good. Normally what kills FPS is the most is grass. You don't have any grass on this map.
It's true. Can I destroy those?
I don't think you can, no.
Oh.
You should be able to destroy some of the buildings towards the middle of the map, though.
Okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty decent.
This is the view from the air. Let me quickly do my vector control. There we go. So yeah, you can see this is actually a very, very big. That A cap is 3 kilometers away, and I'm over the C cap. That's quite a distance to travel here.
Yeah.
You have a bit of a... It's shaped a bit like an arena. You have those outskirts rocks, which don't allow you to really go outside. You can escape into the desert if it wasn't for the out of bounds mechanic. But I really like this area over here.
It's really nice, actually.
I've actually seen a comment from one of our content creators who saw the earlier Russian dev stream. The layout reminds you a lot of 38th Parallel.
Kind of does, yeah. I can see what you mean. Yeah.
Like this little area on the left here, wide open area here, which would be a mountain in the 38th Parallel side, not in here. And a little bit of a water area over here. It's quite a nice one.
There is a lot of open space on this map, which is sort of quite, well, we haven't really seen something this open, I think, before. Maybe Folder, but like even then, there's like lots of kind of.
I mean, Folder has a lot of trees blocking cover, like on visual cover.
But
you don't have here.
There's a lot of open space, which is kind of interesting. I think that's going to mean you are going to need to use these rocks to kind of block sightlines passively while you drive, which is going to be pretty interesting to see how that works. Like, there's so much of it, and as well, there's not really, I guess, apart from the dunes, much hull down cover either. Which is going to be interesting in terms of gameplay. It's going to keep people moving around a little bit. You need to peek these corners, which is, you know, in turn going to put you a bit more of at risk. So, yeah, it's an interesting kind of style of design, especially in terms of how, like, the matches play, I guess. There's not a lot of areas where you're going to be completely safe either. And there's a lot of... I don't know, I like the open space. I'm interested to see how that's going to go, actually.
Again, this is really a map designed for top-tier conflict. You have multiple kilometers of sidelines that are more than possible to find engagements at. Or, if you don't want that, you can actually use the cover of the rocks and the cover of these like rolling hills and stuff like that to try to make your way towards the cap points. With this is the B cap point, has actually quite a bit of cover.
Yeah.
And of course, there are lots of opportunities for enemies to set up a defensive position, trying to intercept anyone who's trying to attack, but the cap itself is pretty well defended. You have lots of rocks and lots of houses here to take cover in. Over in the C cap as well, you have the cover of the rocks themselves, which are quite nice. And are you any closer to the A cap yet?
I am.
Oh, you're right on the A cap, okay. We're going to show that in a second. You can also see the C-cap over here, which has actually quite a bit of cover. The C-cap is very well defended from long-range attacks.
Yeah, thinking about it, like, an interesting thing about this map in terms of the layout, if you look at the map itself on the bottom right, it seems like left is very open, the B-cap is sort of like a middle ground, and C is quite close. So that kind of offers every kind of playstyle you want. You can kind of go from there. Like, if you want to play long range, A, mid, B, close, C. And that's kind of interesting. It sort of accommodates for every playstyle in that sense. So it's going to be interesting. I have no idea how this is going to really play yet. It depends on sort of what exactly the BR rotation is going to be, where this is available. But it's pretty much a really wide map, at least as far as engagements go. Like, Folder's very big, but you can't really shoot like in really long sight lines apart from a couple of different places. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's sort of new, I guess, in terms of design. Hello there.
Hi. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing just fine.
That's an interesting little dardo you have over there.
Yeah, don't bully me.
I'm not going to bully you, don't you worry. But yeah, this is the new tank map, which you will be able to play in the upcoming updates. Okay. Now, Tom, I believe it is time to move on to the next vehicle that we have.
I believe so.
Which, we have shown all the tanks that we have available right now. We are now going to move over to the aircraft section of this dev preview, of this update preview. Yeah. So, Tom, do you have it ready?
I do.
There you are. Okay, the Swedish, starting out with.
Well, it's not even a Swedish thing, but, well, sort of is. Swedish tree. Finish 109 G6, very, very nice. I like the camo on that as well. It's got a little depth face.
Oh, that's very derpy.
It's very sweet, yeah. So yeah, rank 4 premium, 5.3, pretty much functionally identical to the G6 in the German tree. Nothing, I guess, extra to kind of note on this one. I can show you the armament though, of which it gets a decent amount. Obviously cannons and the
Wurfgranaten.
There we go, teamwork, and the bomb as well. So yep, standard loadout really. Nice camo, U premium, which is it's pretty useful, I think, especially for the Swedish tree to have something that's kind of familiar. Like all of these other vehicles are, pretty much unique, but to have something premium-wise that is at least familiar to people who've played other trees, well, I think that's always quite useful. It's an easy one to kind of slip into to go through the tree, which is pretty good. Yeah,
and the
nice.
G6 is a pretty good aircraft.
Really good plane. One of the nicest ones, the G6. So yeah, pretty versatile. I mean, it's not the best sort of CAS, I suppose, but the rockets are decently good. I mean, the single bomb as well, can be pretty effective. So it's a nice little versatile plane to kind of give it a little boost.
Does it have any secondary camos by any chance?
I don't know.
It does not. It does not. There's one aircraft we're going to show later on that has a lot of secondary camos, which is kind of amazing. Yes, I love it.
I'm so simple with camos. It's like nice colors, yes, brain happy.
Yes.
That's it. That's
bright colors. That's how you do YouTube thumbnails as well.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, speaking of, well, this isn't really bright colors, but I guess close enough. We have something for the French players out there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Mystère 4A. This is going to be the new French jet coming up in the next update. And I have to admit, I don't know too much about French jets.
I don't really know.
I only pretty much play the Mirage, and that's really it.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Delta Wing fan. I'm more of a fan of this one.
More of a Delta boy.
But yeah, this is a Tech 3 aircraft. You can see it in the Mirage line just before the Super Mystère. I guess it's a Mirage line, yeah. So just before the Super Mystère, filling out the 8.7 spot over here quite nicely. And it does have a decent amount of suspended ordnance, if you want to take a look at that. You may notice some Nords here. These are sadly not the AS-20 Nords, so these are not the same ones as you can find on the G91, which allow you to ground strike quite effectively. These are the AA Nords, which are limited to air-to-air combat. Now, these actually are quite useful if you are able to lure the enemy into head-ons, because these have an air fuse. So if they sense an aircraft nearby, they do explode. And they are very big missiles, so they do a lot of damage.
They're really good at head-ons as well, I felt.
Yes,
really bully
very good
like
at that. You can aim them with your keyboard if you want to, but honestly, that's going to be very hard to do against an aircraft, so you're better off just using them either if you're directly behind someone or if you're directly in front of someone. That's when these are really at their best. You also have a fair option of snaps and bombs. You also have a bunch of 151mm heat rockets over here, which have a decent amount of penetration. But overall, this is really more of an addition for the CAS aficionados out there. I'm not expecting this to be too good at air-to-air combat, given that it completely lacks any kind of guided air-to-air missiles. And the Mystères tend to be mediocre at best, I would say. They're not really the best aircraft out there.
No.
Not at all. Now, you may be able to hear something in the background, which is Tom in a new Italian jet.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What could this be? What could this be?
Let's see if the chat can guess it. It starts with an S.
Starts with an S?
It starts with an S. Can you guess what the aircraft is? It's an Italian jet, a new Italian jet. That's the tertiary one as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, good.
8.3. Look at this boy. Look at it. I love it. I love it so much.
I can't quite put my finger on what it looks like.
It's like a baby between like a Swift and a Flora, the Yak the 23.
Yeah. Yeah, the under-mounted engine, yeah.
So it's, what is it, the Sagittario?
Sagittario.
Yeah, Sagittario 2, which is a very nice, very nimble as well jet, with two effectively Aidens in the nose. Very, very nice, very maneuverable, and pretty nippy. And it's a nice little unique aircraft, currently 8.3. No CAS options, but it is, for all intents and purposes, a very maneuverable fighter right now. So
what's guns? I think it gets the 30mm Defa cannons, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. They're kind of, I believe they're sort of an indigenous designation or sort of construct, but they're functionally the same as those. So they are very familiar. And
pretty much very similar to the Aiden cannons. If you know those are the Hunters, they are quite good. Although you only get 2 on these, I believe.
But I think it's 240 rounds.
Which is actually not bad at all.
Yep.
I'm going to show it to you in the hangar as well, just so you can see the stats and all the good stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
There we go. The Sagittarius in the hangar, there you go. 8.7 in... Why does it always keep on switching? 8.7 in a realistic mode. It is right after the Vampire in the interesting Saber line, actually. Yep. Ooh, curious. Okay, not too bad. Now, this has the following options available. Again, this is a work in progress, so none of this is final. It might get ground options, it might not. We don't quite know. But it does get the 30mm cannons, which are very similar to the Aidens on the Hunter. And if you use the ground target belt, you can actually do some decent damage against ground targets as well. Yeah. They're not bad at all, actually. I really like these. Yeah. Sadly, you only get 2. Sadly, you only get 240 rounds of ammunition. But this is decent enough to get a couple of kills with it. And it looks really interesting, I have to say.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Looks sleek.
I do.
I mean, it's Italian. Of course it looks sleek.
Yeah. It's just pretty. I mean, I love it. I love the design. It's like, I don't know, I like small jets. Like the Goblin as well, I really like. You know what I mean? It's the one that kind of Parasite dropped out of B-29s.
Oh boy.
That'd be amazing, right?
That looks weird, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just, I like the weird looking stuff. It's always my favorite.
Funny you should mention an American plane, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You might have seen it earlier ago when we were showing off the M47. Tom has captured something.
Yep. I certainly have. Little capture. Yeah, this is the P-51C 11 NT for Japan in the premium tree, rank 3. And yeah, Evelina. This is, it's got a lot of history. I don't really know all of it, but I know this plane was part of the Flying Circus, which is a sort of a fighter group of captured planes that they brought around to like Japanese fighter squadrons to kind of test them out against like what, you know, the enemy's aircraft were, like how to combat them and stuff. So this aircraft toured around a lot of squadrons so they could fight against it, learn its strengths and weaknesses and stuff. And yeah, it's had a lot of life. Functionally the same as the P-51C in the US tree, although I believe the only
It doesn't get any ground ordnance.
No ordnance, and it gets late belts. The other one only gets mid-war belts.
Late belts are very good.
Yeah, very, very good. And I think because this aircraft was a later version used, it's I think even in 1945 this thing was touring. So it yeah, it's a later variant, but flight-wise it's pretty much exactly the same. Nice little captured premium with a history as well, like with a story behind it.
Interesting enough, it only has 4 machine guns.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I love that they didn't even put any effort into re-camoing this thing.
Yeah,
they just stuck some Imperial Japanese decals on over the US Air Force decals, and it's good.
Yeah, they kept the name as well, Evelina. It's very sweet.
You would expect Japanese to kind of like try and camo it, but I guess this is more authentic, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And I like it. It's got a nice story. Like, yeah, definitely look it up. This aircraft went around a lot, did a lot of stuff. They learned a lot from this plane. So it's really nice to have it in, yeah. So
that is one of the new premiums that you can expect in the Japanese air tech tree coming up in the next update. If you like P-51s and you want to have a Japanese one, yep. There you go.
Very cool.
Moving on to something else that also has some weird decals. We have a new jet for the Chinese. A new top tier jet, in fact. Welcome the J7E. This is very close in performance to the MiG-21 MF. It's not quite a biz, it's nowhere near a biz in fact. It's quite close to the MF in terms of performance, and it has an interesting wing design, a bit of a different one. What this essentially means is that you have the engine power from the MF in a bit of a more maneuverable airframe. We're going to take it out in test drive because it also has some new ordnance options. I'm going to warn you right away, what you're going to see in the test drive is not the final flight model. The flight model is not finished yet, so it flies very much like an MF. But you can expect a bit of a refined MiG-21 experience when this actually launches. And I'm usually not a fan of bare-looking planes, but there's something about the white Chinese camera that looks
It does look
really
really nice, like on the Q5 as well. Like I don't know, it fits. It looks really nice.
Very nice indeed. I'm going to show you some of the ordnance options and the modifications. Modifications are pretty much the same. You do get flares and chaff on this one, which is very, very useful, and quite an amount of them as well. 72 is not bad at all.
Bad, yeah, definitely.
As you can see, you do have the chaff as well if you want to defeat radar-guarded missiles, which is going to be a bit more useful in ground RB, I have a feeling. And you have a new missile, the PL-5B. This is going to be the new best missile that the Chinese get. Kind of similar in performance to the AIM-9P, and it's quite a good one. Good launch range, good speed, and a good G-pull as well. But that's not the only new thing. Have you seen these rockets yet, Sam?
Are they the ones the Q5 has, the late one?
Maybe. I haven't played the Q5 too much.
The icon is different, but I think they're the same. I'm not sure.
All I know is these go boom.
They do go boom.
They go boom quite a bit. These are very, very powerful rockets. Now, at least currently, this doesn't get the ballistic computer, so you don't get the pinpoint accurate drops of it. But let's take it out on test drive and show you some of the new missile, I suppose. I'm going to take out 4 of the PL-5Bs.
Very cool. Have a whirl.
I always like some new missiles. Yeah. It's always quite nice. And I really like the wind design. I don't know.
It's just, I don't know, it looks, it's hard to sort of pinpoint, do you know what I mean? Like, exactly why they're nice, but they just are, like, visually.
The MiG-21 to me at least always looked like a kite.
Yeah.
This looks like the kitest of kites.
Yes.
I'm not making much sense, but I just really like the wing design of this.
Yeah, it's just nice. It's just pleasing.
As you can see some decent performance over here. Of course, you're going to have the same climb rate as the MiG-21 MF, which is very good, or very similar climb rate at least. And right now, the flight model, of course, is still unfinished, so I can't really show the flight performance because it's not representative of what we are going to see. But it's a nice aircraft. Cockpit isn't quite done yet. Actually, it is the next aircraft that has a done cockpit.
Oh, yes.
Which is going to be actually quite interesting. I can't believe that thing exists. You're going to see in a second.
It is beautiful. Don't bully
No! It's British.
No, don't bully. What do you mean? It's very pretty. I love it.
Well, the good thing is taste is subjective.
Yeah.
I just said it. Maybe we can ask the chat in a bit if they are more on the it's a pretty plane or if they are more on the it's a fugly plane.
I love it. It's brilliant. It's like the sun you keep in the attic. It's great.
Tom, do I need to call the police?
No, I'm just thinking. The first thing that came to mind was that episode of The Simpsons where like Bart has a brother in the attic and they feed him fish heads. And that's like the whole episode. And that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this.
I don't remember that episode.
It unlocked like a memory, like a whole week of memory from me from like 10 years ago.
Curious.
Yeah. I love it.
Now, I just noticed actually something on this MiG. The cannon load is pretty underwhelming. You only have 60 rounds on this.
Only 60 and one gun as well. Only one.
Yeah, not too good. I believe it has the... Oh, I can't see it right now. I believe it has the 23mm cannon.
The 30, I think.
Okay, 30 is actually not too bad. 30 rounds, I mean, 60 rounds is still bad, but at least you can do a bit more damage with it.
I think it's pretty much the same armament that's on the first MiG-21 in the Russian tree, the F-13, I think. It's the 130. Yeah, kind of underwhelming, but I mean, you know, if you hit, you're going to hit hard, so.
That's a nice explosion.
That is a nice explosion.
That is a very nice explosion.
Wonderful.
Okay, moving on to other planes with nice explosions.
What does this mean?
I can't!
I like it. Look at my boy.
Tom!
Look at him.
What is that?
I don't know the particulars. What I do know is that I like it a lot. So, this is the Sea Vixen. A very nice plane. Don't argue. It's just, I love it. It looks so bizarre in terms of the design there, especially with the cockpit design. But no guns as well. Only gets the red tops here and decent armament as well if we look at the menu. So you got the bullpup and you can take missiles with it as well. Not as good as the Buccaneer, like even close to that kind of performance. But I mean, in terms of the missiles, the red tops at 8.3, not too bad.
The red tops actually not too bad.
Yeah.
They're not too bad at all. Now, there is a major drawback with this plane, which is that it doesn't have any guns. You are very much limited to the missiles. But since this is a premium plane, you get all the missiles unlocked immediately. Okay, let's try and do a... What is that second guy doing?
He's just hanging out. Don't bully him.
He can't even see outside.
He's having a whale of a time. Whale of a time. And also, look at that. How nice is
That
that?
is okay. I have to admit, the cockpit is nice.
That is really nice.
I have to admit that is nice. That is very nice. But
Got a little.
you can't
boomerang.
even see your co-pilot.
Oh yeah, he's just sort of. Yeah, you
Yes.
can't see him. Oh, bit lonely then, I suppose.
He's
But-
like Nigel's forgotten cousin.
Oh yeah, just sort of hanging out there. I mean, you know,
Also, can I just mention, when you look at it from above, if you cut off the cockpit and the tail booms, it just looks like a Horton 229.
that's very true. I can never unsee that now. Thank you for this.
You're very welcome. This is the Brits' attempt at a Horton 229 that went horribly wrong, and they just gave up halfway through the design progress and just stuck an elevator on it.
So maneuverability isn't too bad, but I believe if we just fly it with the mouse, it's going to take a while to turn. So you may need to use keyboard controls while you're flying this thing, at least to sort of make it pull especially, because especially at high speed, this is going to be difficult to kind of roll over, get the seeker on target. So yeah, it's decently maneuverable, I think, but it's going to be a bit tricky to fly, I guess, ultimately, being what it is, having no guns, and I mean, keeping the speed up. But I don't know, I like it. It's a different play style, you know, and it being a premium, you know, it's something you can play if you want. Decent for ground RB in any case. And I don't know, I like it. I really like it. Just visually, it's just great.
I
the
like
weird
one
stuff.
thing on it, which is the engines. It gets 2 of the Hunter engines,
Yeah.
which means no afterburner. Sadly, you're not going to go supersonic with this, but they have a decent amount of grunt. in them.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice.
Okay, I can't look at that any longer. Let's look at something that actually looks nice.
I mean, I can't deny that looks nice as well. So.
Moving on to the Russians, we have 3 whole new jets. 2.5, let's say that.
Yeah.
Coming in first, the Yak-28B, and can I just mention that if I've ever seen a plane that looks like a mosquito, this is it.
Yeah, kind of. It's very pointy.
Why is it so pointy?
Pointy boy.
It's a very pointy boy. Now, this is going to be the new top attacker for the Russian attack at 9.3, right after the Tu-14. Jet bomber, essentially.
Yeah, like a
And-
Valtor, I guess.
And it can carry a decent bomb load, at least. This one also gets flares, which is very useful, so you're not going to be a victim to missile spam, at least. You can carry flares and chaff as well. And this one also gets the CCRP, I believe. We have to check it out in test drive in a second. You may notice the gun is not exactly overwhelming.
No, not the best cannon anyway, and
Yeah, it's only 50 runs as well.
you're going to burn through that quick.
It's not going to be great, that is for sure. You're not going to get many kills with the guns. But this is not a fighter. It's designed to go fast and deliver a very big bomb to the target. You can carry up to a single 3,000 kilogram bomb, which does actually fit internally into the bomb bay, which I can show you into a test drive real quick. And it is quite nice. As you can see, you can take chaff and flares, which is always quite nice indeed. So let's give it a quick test flight here. Imagine essentially an IL-28 that does actually have flares and goes a bit faster.
Yeah, it's pretty
Doesn't quite have a
nice.
cockpit yet, but I have a feeling this cockpit is going to be looking quite nice. Russian
Yeah.
cockpits generally look quite nice.
I like the sort of teal tone they use for a lot of them as well.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Sadly, this is not one of the planes that has the teal underside, which makes me a bit sad. But I know, you can't have everything.
Yeah.
I also like that they put like mini training wheels on the wingtips just to
know.
stabilize this thing out.
Yeah. I like it visually. Very, very nice.
Gear goes in quite easily, and the bomb bay just about perfectly fits the bomb. That is kind of amazing how tight of a fit that is.
Yeah. And
I do like that.
It does get a bomb sight as well, I believe.
It does indeed, so you can do some high altitude bombing with this.
Yeah.
And it even gets the ballistic computer as well.
Very
Not
good.
sure if it does get the bomb ballistic computer. Let me quickly do a check. But if you want to do some limited ground attack, you can. Dun, 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 dun. And not at the moment, doesn't get the bomb prediction, but since you have the bomb side, you kind of can compensate for that
Yeah.
yourself.
I think it's for the gun, I guess.
Yeah,
That'll
you can
do.
see it does the gun at least.
Sweet.
Only one cannon on the side. The ammunition goes very quickly. You're not really going to be doing too much defense with that. And you don't get any turrets either, so you can't really defend yourself against fighters for too long. But at least with the flares, you can do some decent things.
Decent things.
Okay, moving on to the next plane that we have, which is going to be the MiG-23, the first 11.0 jet in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the MiG-23. This is going to be Russia's new top-tier jet. Sweat wings, swinging wings, and it looks a bit interesting. A few people confuse it with the F-111 in the trailer.
Yeah, I guess I can see that a bit, yeah.
It looks a bit like the F-111, to be fair. I have to
Yeah.
admit that. So, this is the MiG-23, the new top-tier jet for the Russians, MiG-23M. It gets some new missiles, which I'm going to show you in a second. and all the stats and all the good stuff. And I have to show you the swinging wings because this can do some extreme angle. It transforms immediately. Okay, so let me show you some of the ordnance options first. Modifications, of course, you have quite a few options over here. You can actually unlock the K-23 missiles, which are big air-to-ground missiles, which are laser-guided, but they are essentially mouse-guided in this game. So they're like ATGMs on tanks, meaning that you do have to keep your mouse on target to hit it. It's not like the AS-20 Nords, which you can just fire and forget, essentially. These you do have to keep your nose pointed towards the target. But you might notice some new missiles here. R-23s. And holy crap, that is a lot of ordnance options.
That is a lot.
Okay, so the R-23s. You can also take up to six R-60s if you want to, which is going to be one of the most popular load options there. You have the R-23s and you have two different versions of them. The R-23R, which is what I'm going to start with, which is a radar missile. Think of it kind of like an AIM-7, but perhaps not quite. It's different, I have to say.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do a little quick test launch in a second, but not going to guarantee they're actually going to work properly. However, look at the mass equivalent, 20.8 kilograms of TNT. If this hits, this is going to kill anything. It's a big old missile with a long range as well, which is quite nice. But you have a secondary version as well, the R-23T. Do we reveal it?
Do we do it?
You may notice this thing is battle rating 11.0. So, new top cap in battle ratings for jets. You may notice this tier 7 as well. This is also going to be the first aircraft with all aspect missiles.
Yes, it is.
Before you go crazy, these are not very good all aspect missiles. They have a very limited range in frontal aspect, as you can see in the stats, only 1.3 kilometers. I mean, at that point, you're basically shotgunning them anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get like long range frontal missile launches, and these don't pull very many Gs either. So you're not really going to be having too much luck in head-ons. However, since they are IR missiles in frontal aspect, you can actually use them at low altitude without having to rely on a radar lock and getting defeated by the radar cluster, essentially. Which does give that a use in that sense. And I'm going to use the radar missile. And as you can see, they are quite big. These are the big ones. So you have the R-60 down below, which are very powerful missiles. High G, very good at close ranges. And then you have these big boys.
Very large.
Yeah. Okay, let's take it out in a quick test drive. It doesn't have any secondary cameras, as you can see. So let's take it out. Cannon, again, not the best. It's only 23mm. Not going to get too many gun kills with it, but it'll be fine.
The lead is quite difficult on that one, especially, yeah.
However, it has a very advanced radar.
That it do.
Which means this actually gets a lead sight for the gun if you have a radar lock on your target.
Very nice.
Which is quite interesting. Okay, so come to those sweeping wings. Essentially, what it allows you to do is have a bit more lift at the lower speeds to give you a bit more maneuverability and lower takeoff speeds. And as the speed increases, the wing is automatically going to adjust its angle. And especially once we reach the threshold for supersonic, it is going to completely go back and look actually absolutely amazing. I love how this thing looks.
Yeah.
Now, this, in comparison to the MiG-21, is not going to be nearly as maneuverable. The MiG-23 was very much an interceptor. It is not designed for close-range brawling dogfights. It's not going to be the best turn fighter out there, really. As you can see, the wing area is not quite as good as the MiG-21. It's not quite a delta wing. But what this thing can do is go quite fast at high altitudes. This should be faster than the MiG-21, at least in terms of top speed. There you go. Wing sweep is now completely back.
Cool
It looks.
It does.
It looks so good.
It does. Yeah, it's just cool looking. Like on a simple level, it looks cool.
It genuinely looks amazing. Okay. I actually need to do this in arcade now mode because of the radar missiles. So give me just a second here real quick to restart. I forgot to do this. There we go.
There we go.
And we're going to try out the new R-23T radar missiles. I'm switching to arcade mode, by the way, for one simple reason. In arcade mode, there is no ground clutter for the radar, so it's a bit easier to get a radar lock with them.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Let's try this again. I guess you can just see the wing sweeping again, which is nice.
Yes.
The air brakes are very similar to the ones on the SU-7, actually. Those 4 air brakes in the back.
Yeah.
Right by the engine nozzle, which is quite nice.
Pretty cool.
Okay. We are up in the air. I'm going to try and get some altitude, see a bit of a test of the climbing capabilities as well. Of course, in arcade mode, you don't have a constant afterburner.
Yeah.
Now, where's its second target? I mean, I guess I might do a low altitude launch as well. I just want to make the missiles actually hit the first time, because these are not very maneuverable is the issue, really.
Yeah.
Also, one thing. Even though they have a quite high missile launch range, it's a bit misleading. They are big missiles, but they don't have too much of a burning time. Which means that you have the initial burn-in, which most missiles do. They have the initial burn, and then they just glide towards the target. These have a quite short burn, so they don't burn for the entire flight duration, which means that your range very much is limited by the speed of your aircraft, because your missile will retain the speed of the aircraft, and as well as the altitude. If you're firing on a target that's above you, you're going to have a much shorter range than if you fire at the target that's below you. And at higher altitudes also, you have much thinner air, so there's less air resistance to slow down the missile. And of course, if the enemy maneuvers and the missile tries to correct for that, it is also going to lose some speed. So let's see if we can go towards the target here. I want to kind of see if I can do a rear launch though, because I'm not sure if we will be able to hit it from the front. Need to get a bit closer for the radar to work. There we go. Going to start the radar lock. As you can see, you can actually launch it a bit in front of you if you want to. But we're going to see if we can go a bit closer here.
There's a hefty circle there.
It's quite a big circle actually, yeah.
Peak
So,
observation.
if you have never seen radar missiles before, you do need a radar lock before launching them. That is the one requirement of them. Which also means you can actually fire them if the enemy is coming towards you. And there we go, let's see. Now, much like the AIM-7, it takes about 2 kilometers to actually start. So that was actually about launch. You need to give yourself a bit of space for the missile to be able to start tracking. Because essentially what it does is for 2 kilometers, it doesn't track at all. Because it's trying to get away from the noise that your own aircraft radar is creating, right? So let's see if we can do this again with a little bit more distance here.
You've got this. That's good.
I can do it.
You can do it, I believe.
I can do it. Interesting. Okay, so when the wings are swept, you don't get flaps, much like in the SU-17, actually. Interesting one.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Now, let's see if we can get the radar lock again. I can. Very good. I'm going to try 8 kilometers this time, just in case.
Okay.
Or maybe 6. 6 is good, I think.
Yeah, go on then. Give it a go.
The only annoying thing is that the bots are constantly going in a circle, which kind of ruins my plan of getting a proper approach here. So let's see if we can do a bit of compensation for that. And do we have more planes to show? Yeah, we have still 2 more planes to show. And then we're going to move on to... Actually, no, we have more planes to show.
Yeah.
We are maybe going to purposely hold off on a certain tech tree with a certain plane that people have been asking for a long while, which starts with F. It has 2 characters after that, and there's been a movie. Let's see. Let's see.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay, missile out. Let's see if it tracks this time. There we go. Missile is flying. Are we going to hit the target though? It doesn't pull too well is the issue. And there we go. All right.
Very nice.
Very nice indeed. So yeah. I think your R6s are still going to be more useful in this case because they are much more versatile in close ranges. But you can use these radar missiles for long range engagement, especially in a head-on. And you have the other ones as well if you want to go into head-on a bit more close range. The other ones, the R-23 with the IR missile, with the IR tracker, should not have the issue of not guiding for 2 kilometers. Since they are IR, they don't have that issue with the radar noise. Okay. Finally, in the Russian tech review, we're going to quickly go over this. This is the Su-7 BKM, the new premium attacker for the Russian 3, 9.3. It has all the same ordnance that you can expect from the Su-7. It's quite similar to the BKL. 6 S-24s, which are quite good. And you do get the ground ballistic capability with this, which is quite nice as well. But what I actually like the most is the amount of camos this has.
I know. We're so simple with camos. But
so you have the pre-order camo, which is an Indian Air Force camo, which makes this thing look like a duck.
Yes.
Your standard camo is an Egyptian camo. This might be the first Egyptian aircraft in the game.
I think so. I can't remember another one.
I both remember another Egyptian aircraft and not at the same time. It's a bit weird.
I think maybe there was a World War mode that had the flag, maybe. I don't
remember. Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 2 Egyptian camos. You also have a Indian camo, tricolor.
I like that.
So this is basically the pre-order camo without the duck face. You have a Russian camo here as well, which looks quite nice. And you have your standard just metal.
Yep.
bare metal if you want to go underground.
Indeed.
There you go. Now we have something, one last plane to show before we go to the ship. So we have one last plane to show here, which you might have seen in the thumbnail, which was not shown in the RU stream actually. This one is a bit different.
Yeah.
So in the last update, we introduced a event vehicle.
That we did.
For the German air tree. The F4 Phantom. The F4F early. Well, it is time we move on to a tech tree variant of that.
Yep. Very nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the F4F tech tree version in the German Air Force. Right after the F104G, compensating nicely with the MiG-21 over here. And this one has some special things. This is not the ICE variant, so this is not the most insane variant with AMRAMs or anything like that. No, this is a bit more grounded, but you might notice some interesting missiles here. This one gets AGM-65Bs, not A's, so these are a bit more advanced than the A7Ds missiles, which these have essentially a better TV tracker. These have a better optical tracker and zoom on the targeting as well, which I might show you in a second as well. And I'm going to show you the modifications. This also has flares.
Pretty cool.
Flares on the Phantom. Very nice. Okay. You can see the ordnance options as well, which are absolutely insane.
Immense options there.
Now, one thing to note here, this does not get the AIM-7s. You don't get any radar missiles with this one, at least not right now. Keep in mind, work in progress. But you do get the AIM-9Js, which are quite nice. And a lot of bombs.
A lot of bombs.
And a lot of Zunis.
A lot of Zunis.
And gun pods.
And gun pods.
And AGM-65Bs.
And that as well.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Okay, next up we have a new map that we're going to show, which is going to be the new naval map. I'm actually going to quickly create a custom battle again, and I'll do it the same time as last time around. I'm going to bring out my Harrier, and Tom is going to bring a new boat, actually.
Yeah, sort of. It's been in the game for many a year, but wasn't active, as it was, sort of a trial period to test how the mechanic worked, but now it's, will be available pretty soon, so...
Very, very nice. Okay. You
can give it a whirl.
So this is actually not a new boat, technically, is it?
Yeah, it's like, I want to say it's like 2-3 years old, maybe? Can't really remember. Long time.
Quite old.
Yeah.
You're going to see in a second. Maybe, don't mention it, let's see if the chat can guess it, because we're going to go back to it in a second as well.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the new map, Drowned City. You can see the map layout over here if you want to take a screenshot. And this is going to be the new naval map, specifically for low-tier vehicles. So you can see I have my boy... Oh, I didn't talk about this yet, have I?
No.
Oh, well. I have my battleship over here, which I can't actually spawn on this map. For one very simple reason. There's not enough space.
No space.
There's not enough space.
No space.
It's a bit of an issue.
A little bit.
Very, very shallow waters.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen this map yet.
Have you not? Really?
No. Oh. Very cool. Reminds me of that one movie that no one saw. Can't remember what movie I'm thinking of. But I like
Independence Day?
No, it's like another one with like green everywhere.
2012?
No. Oh, God, don't remind me. Terrible. But visually, this is very nice.
So basically, something really bad happened here. You probably had a massive tsunami just sinking the entirety of this city. All the infrastructure is gone. There's a cargo ship stuck on that bridge with... oh, I'm actually about to crash. Okay, I'm good. There's a cargo ship stuck on the intersection there. Cargo spilled everywhere. A few islands still have dry ground and all the good stuff. But yeah, this is quite an interesting map because it allows you to take a lot of sneaky cover with those small boats.
Yeah, pretty much.
And especially in this boat that you have, which has a lot of weird round objects in the back.
What could
those be?
What could they be?
What are they, Tom?
They are mines. Very nice mines as well, which are pretty much instrumental on a map like this because there's lots of very narrow channels. So you can very much, quite aptly, block them off with these mines, which is pretty nice. And I'm just noticing as well, you can kind of see the roads underneath the water from your viewpoint. That's really cool, actually. I like that.
So you saw it in the trailer. There's actually a bit of a... The underwater line is actually modeled. Like, there's the full city underneath the water. You just can't really see it, but it does affect your ships, which is why you can't bring big ships onto this map, because they simply wouldn't be able to swim. They would just get stuck on the ground. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
That is a nice ship, I have to say. From the upside, it looks
it's really
nice.
pretty, actually. Yeah, very long. A long boy.
And it's a hydrofoil as well.
Yep.
Goes quite well.
Very similar to the VS10, I believe it's called. Quite similar in that regard.
You can see the Everstock didn't quite make it over there. We are in a bit of an alternate timeline here. With the Harriers, you can actually land on top of the buildings if you want to. This is an interesting map for aircraft as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep in mind, since this is very much limited to low-tier boats, and if aircraft can spawn in this, which I believe they should be able to, you can do some interesting stuff with cats as well.
Yeah.
Take cover behind the skyscrapers, take cover behind low buildings, and do some strafing runs. And this, I believe, is a new boat model. I don't think I've seen this one before.
I haven't seen that either, actually. That's quite cool.
That's a very interesting one.
So many new things.
So many new things. We're not going to go to do a full exploration of this map. You will have to do it yourself when it's time for the Death Star. Okay. So let's move on to the next option. We are going to now switch over to... Oh, we still have one nation to show with aircraft, right?
We do.
But we are going to bait you.
Oh.
We are going to show the last nation with aircraft, America. But we're going to do it after the boats.
After the boats, of which we have some. And I don't really know about many of them, but I can sort of show you their overall sort of the gist of them. The armor values as well. So this is the Wyoming, America's second dreadnought, which is pretty nice. Extra gun, so extra set of guns. So I believe this is 12 instead of 10. So a little bit better there. Armor as well, a little bit different. So there are changes. I don't really know the particulars of a lot of these ships because I haven't really had much time to kind of go into any of them. But visually, again, as always, the model is very, very nice. Giant clock as well. Always nice for these ships. My favorite aspect. And yeah, pretty nice. And there are a couple of things we can have a look at in the test here, the test sail.
Those are some big guns.
Big guns.
The armor's actually pretty interesting as well. I've seen it in the armor analyzer. It has some coal bunkers, which act as extra armor.
Yeah.
And some turtleback internal armor plates as well.
Pretty good. So while these guns are very very slowly moving over, there are a couple of additional features that we can briefly show. And the first one is, well, I will sort of let it speak for itself. Bloop. Look at this.
Oh yeah, new camera for naval shells.
Look at this, dude. Little sounds as well, like the whistling. How cool is that? It's going to miss now, isn't it? I hope not.
Oh, that sounds.
It's really cool. Look at that.
Oh.
And as well, one thing that I'm very happy about is previously, well, quite realistically, shells at range were very hard to see once you fired. But if we fire these now, we can see that even as they go farther and farther off into the distance, the tail of the tracer remains visible, so you have that visual feedback of where your shells are landing. Because before, they turned almost invisible with the range, which, you know, you wouldn't be able to see at that range anyway. But they are, you know, added back effectively from this this view, which is great because it means you can now see exactly where you're aiming. It's a bit more sort of responsive in terms of the visual feedback you get, which is very, very nice. I'm very glad.
You mean I can actually start hitting targets now?
You can give it your best shot.
I'm terrible at naval. I'm really happy for the shell following camera though.
That's really nice, right?
I like it, especially when you see like the entire salvo shells all around you.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of functional and it's visually like appealing to watch as well. It's like doubles up. It's great. We also have the USS Candid, sneaky in here. It's not really a ship you'd sort of know about, I suppose. It doesn't look particularly imposing, but it's a nice little ship to have in rank 4. With the 76 on the front there and the 2 Bofors on the back, which is pretty nice. I mean, Bofors in naval, especially like the coastal ships, are incredibly powerful. With the HE, they do really, really well. This ship is a bit like a sort of toned-down LS class, I suppose. Very slow, not really very well protected, but if you can get those Bofors on target, it does do pretty well.
It looks very chubby, I have to say.
It is a bit of a chubby boy, yeah. It's very
Curious.
sweet. I like it. I like these sort of ships that aren't really like designed intrinsically to be, against other ships in combat. So it's nice. It's nice to see the designs like this. They're just, I don't know, nice to me. I like it.
Can you show off the German boat you were just playing as well?
I can. This is the VS8.
Schnell! Boot. Schnellboot.
What's this word? Say it in German.
Wait, no, that's shell.
Yeah. Did you see it was Schnell the whole time?
Yes!
No!
I thought it was Schnell.
Actual blindness. What does this mean?
Well, shell. I don't quite know. It's not quite mine.
Okay.
I guess it's supposed to be referencing mine, but it's not quite mine.
Okay. Well, in any case, this is the VS8. This was in the game for a very long time for a brief test a long time ago to test how the mines worked, and now it's finally back as a premium. So this is quite similar to the VS10. I want to say it is the other hydrofoil with these 15mm turrets all over the top, but this one is much longer and has the mines as well. It's from what I remember, not the most survivable ship. It's quite long. It's very very easy to hit.
It doesn't
And,
have much crew.
Yeah, not a lot of crew, and the dead zones of these guns can get in the way a lot. But as a ship, it's pretty cool. I know visually it works for me. I like the kind of the cabin here as well. It just reminds me of like the catamarans you'd go on to go to France.
Yeah,
It's just nice.
Looks
Yeah.
like you could take a nice luxurious cruise in it.
Yeah, so
Get rid of the mines in the back. Just put some chairs in there.
Some decking down. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, very nice ship. Up to see how this plays, especially on the new map as well for the mines.
Okay, we next have a Russian boat as well, which is going to be quite similar in that regard. This is the Project 30 BIS, which can also carry some naval mines and torpedoes and depth charges if you want to.
Yeah, it's a bit like a scaled up version of the Ognavoy that comes before it. It gets extra torpedoes and a slightly improved anti-air or secondary mount as well. So,
And interesting, the guns are the same ones as found on the SU-100Y, I believe.
I think so, yeah, functionally the same, yeah.
Yeah, done 30mm cannons, which are quite good in tanks. They're probably not going to be the most powerful in ships, given that you only have 4 of them in total as well. But the capability of launching the mines should be quite interesting to all the players out there. I'm also going to show you the modifications just in case. You can see you have some HE, you have HEVT even, interesting. For the 130mm cannons and the 85mm secondaries.
Pretty nifty.
But not much in terms of armor at all. This is not a very survivable ship in that regard.
Indeed.
Although you do have quite a bit of crew here, which is not bad at all.
It's actually not, it's one of the better sort of early destroyers in my experience. I quite like it.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Is that a new squadron vehicle I see?
It could perhaps be.
Oh my god.
Yeah, again, I don't know too much about these ships, of course, but this is the Liverpool cruiser. Very similar to the Belfast and the Southampton, although with some differences. The main difference with this ship, putting it at 5.3, is the lack of an extra turret. This only has 3 of the turrets instead of 4 like the others, but it does have more anti-air cover protection, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I can't really speak about it too much in terms of what it can do. You can see the Belfast there in the background. Very, very similar visually, but with some of the differences as well. I'm going to have a quick look at the armor here. I don't know it changes too much between the ships. Yeah, pretty similar. And we can see the statistics here as well. We also have the Leopard frigate here, which, I don't know, I've always liked the green kind of toning on the top of these ships.
That does look nice.
It reminds me of like some destroyers, like museum ships I went on as a kid. I kind of like those. So yeah, this is very similar to the Whitby, I believe, with the gun mounts here as well. It has the same, but this has 2 of them, which is, it's not the most powerful gun mounts, but these do fire very, very quickly. I believe we can see that on here as well, so 20 rounds a minute.
That's very quick.
First stage, yes, they are pretty good at that. And with the stag mounts as well. So it's pretty decent for a frigate. I haven't really played these very much. They're kind of hard to get at the end of the line, but they are very, very effective in their element. So yeah, pretty nice ship, very visually interesting as well. I like all these kind of late British designs, so it's pretty nice to see this one. And
we did save the best ship for last, though.
we did.
The Italian players, naval players out there, have been asking for this for a long time. Well, you are going to get it now.
Look
Italy is finally going to get a battleship.
Look at it. It looks very menacing. I love all the little 76s on the top of the main turret as well.
That has to be the worst job out there.
It's like when I used to like kind of draw stuff like this as a kid, and like you'd add guns on top of guns. It was like this. This is what I drew. So I love these as well. Like a little rounded one on top of here. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's
it looks
just,
a bit like the World War One, like what's called mountain defense guns.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like I think Battlefield have those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, a very nice ship. Very visually interesting as well. I can take a quick look at the armor values here as well. If we take off the external, we can see the armor inside.
You have some turtle back. You have the coal bunkers on the outside. This is quite a well-armored ship.
Quite a well-armored ship. And decent performance of the guns as well. Have the SAP standard with 31 kilograms of explosive filler. Very, very nice. And the APCBC as well. A bit more penetration. Takes a pretty big hit in filler, but, you know, pretty good. Nice versatility. It's good that it has both. Pretty nice ship. I can't really say much apart from how visually interesting it looks, of which is very nice.
Would you say the anti-aircraft armament is anything decent? I don't seem to see too much great there, really.
Yeah, like a lot of them, because I mean, these are sort of designed at a time when, you know, aircraft weren't really that imposing.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, these guns are really all they, I guess, needed to have in terms of like, you know, at the time. So, yeah, they're not really great against aircraft right now, but against other ships, very, very powerful. Very powerful. I see what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I'm not.
I might get sacked for this. There is
Yes.
something.
Now that is just inappropriate.
Yes,
we
it is
can't-
actually very
We
inappropriate.
can't show that in any case.
Okay.
Don't do
Okay.
it. Don't do it.
Do we do it?
Don't do it.
Do we do it?
You can't show that.
We have to do it, Tom.
We can't.
For the people.
For the people.
For the people.
Yeah.
You may have noticed we completely skipped over the American entry.
We did. Why did we do that?
We saved something for last.
Yep.
Okay. Hold on to your chairs. Are you sitting comfortably? Make sure you don't have any drinks in your mouth so you don't spit it out. Make sure you don't have any drinks in your hands so you don't spill it over the keyboard. Make sure you're sitting down nicely, okay? What I'm about to show you is a vehicle, a plane specifically, that has been asked for a very long time. It starts with an F. It has 2 characters after that. It
know what he's
is
doing.
a movie star.
You know what he's
And it
doing.
has, holy crap, have you seen the amount of ordnance this thing can carry?
It's well, it is insane.
It is actually insane.
I can't deny that.
Oh, and it is supersonic.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the game, the F5E.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm. I can't believe this. You can't do this. It's like the worst thing in the world. So many people are like, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. They saved it till last. It's gonna be amazing. And now you can't really sell it as much.
No, because this actually is genuinely amazing.
It is amazing though.
The F5E is actually genuinely amazing, and you're going to understand why. So,
You've japed thousands of people. The elusive
I can just
jape.
imagine the chat right now. It's going to be absolutely insane.
I can't believe this.
So, this is the new American top tier jet, rank 7, and you may notice that the F5 isn't really a new plane in the game. We did have the F5A in the Chinese air tree in the last patch, but this one is so much better. You may notice a rather big looking thing scraping along the ground, which is kind of inappropriate. This is the same gun pod as you can find on the A7D.
Yes, indeed.
This is a GAU 13, which is basically a cut-down version of the A10's main gun, the GAU 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on a fighter of this size. The gun pod is almost as big as the fighter itself.
That is just immense. Look at that.
And this is not the only ordnance option. So,
No.
the F5E essentially what it brings to the table is some actually very, very decently upgraded power. I can show you the power of the engines in comparison to the F5C we have as a premium aircraft. 2,220 kilograms of force in afterburner mode, which is really quite powerful, especially compared to the only 1,430 that you get with this wing. So the F5E actually has as much more thrust without afterburner as the A5C does with.
Curious.
What this allows you to do is, one, even better acceleration, if that was even possible. This can now actually go supersonic at sea level if you don't have your ordnance options out. And it allows you to carry a lot more ordnance. You have a bit of a different wing design as well, which looks quite nice. I'm not a particular fan of the camo of this one. I think I'm definitely going to go for one of those MiG-28 user custom skins,
Yeah.
which are going to be looking better, but let me show you the amount of ordnance this thing can carry, because holy crap.
Look at this boy.
You can see the entire modification screen is just modification after modification after modification. It's half of it is just ordnance. You may notice this one gets flares. That's the one thing that I've always really found the most detrimental to the F5A is the lack of countermeasures. It made it so that once you had a very capable planes in the right hands, a very maneuverable plane, it couldn't really do much once someone got their missiles on you. You couldn't really evade them, and you didn't have flares to defeat them. Now you do. You have flares, you have chaff, all the good stuff. You have this gun pod if you want to, which does have very good ground penetration. So if you want to go CAS with the gun pod, you can do that. And let me show you. Let me show you the secondary loadout, because yeah.
That's a whole sea of loadouts there.
Yeah, it very much is. It very much is.
Very much ish.
Okay. I sound a bit like Sean Connery there.
You did a
for
bit, yeah.
second.
That's exactly what I thought.
So, it still only has AIM-9Js. You don't get any upgraded missiles beyond that. And you are still limited to only 2. You cannot carry 4 missiles on this plane. However, you have some new options. As I mentioned before, you have the gun pod, which you can actually find in some other load options as well. If you want to carry the gun pod and the missile together, you can. This looks even sillier. And you might have noticed a little something here. Huh. Curious. So you may know the AGM-65 Ace from the A7D. The AGM-65 Ace are self-guiding air-to-ground missiles. They are designed to go against tanks and stationary objects, and they can guide themselves. They're essentially fire and forget. You lock onto a target, the missile follows it by itself. You don't have to do any input after you launch the missile. However, the one major drawback that the ones on the A7D had is that the targeting camera wasn't the best. It didn't have zoom, so you couldn't really spot targets at long ranges, and it was just generally a bit hard to deal with. These, however, are upgraded. So whilst the missile body itself is still the same, still has the same characteristics, still has the same penetration, still has the same explosive power, these ones get a better camera, which I'm going to show you in a test flight real quick.
Give it a go.
And you can see a bit of the performance as well. This honestly performs amazingly well. I love the way this thing performs. I have a feeling this is probably going to be one of the most versatile planes out there. I mean, you have great performance on the plane itself. It's absolutely tiny. It has the 20mm cannon, which is actually still a decent amount of ammo. Yep. And I actually need to show the radar in a bit as well, because that's even going to make it better. This, honestly, is going to be the meta. I genuinely believe this is going to be the new meta.
He's called it. It's going to be the meta.
The absolute meta. Okay. So switching over to the AGM-65 sight. This is what you can see. This is not thermal sight, by the way. It doesn't give you a thermal signature. It's just black and white. But you can zoom in.
Nope.
Which makes it a lot easier to spot targets at range. And I'm going to see if I can do a little strafing around the SPAA.
That thing just looks funny with all those straps at the bottom of the window. Yeah.
It does. Let's see if I can get a lock. There we go. So yeah, we got a lock. We can fire off a missile, and that's all we need to do. The missile will guide itself towards the target. Mavericks are quite nice. I do like them.
Yes.
So you can use them in third person. You can use them in first person if you want to. But what I quickly want to do actually is do another round with the GAU, because it just looks absolutely amazing.
Yes, take off with it. Go.
I don't know how to take... I'm generally not sure if that's supposed to be that way, because it just looks silly. It just looks silly. It just feels silly. It scrapes on the ground. How does it work? I don't know. I'm actually going to do the little radar trick as well.
Okay.
So this F5E, apart from all the other upgrades of a better engine, of more ordnance, of all the good stuff, and flares, it also has an upgraded radar, which I'm going to show you in a second. Also, by the way, look at that. What the hell is that?
It just looks silly to me.
I'm half expecting sparks coming out the backside of that. But still, even with that massive gun pod strapped to the underside, it still takes off very easily.
Still responsive, yep.
The engines are very, very good. Now, of course, you can notice that my responsiveness, especially low speeds, is now quite bad. But you can still fly around pretty well. Let's get a bit closer to the MiG-15, shall we?
Go on then.
Do a little inversion as well. If you want to look like a UFO.
It's quite bizarre.
I can't get over this.
It looks like it's too big, but it isn't. It's just like the size of the plane.
It basically is like... Tom actually had this bit of a confusion early. He wasn't sure if the scale was up to scale.
Yeah, because it's just... It looks like it should be smaller, but it isn't. It's the plane is really small.
Also, Tom, do you notice something interesting in the radar?
I do.
This gets a gun-leading radar in RB. Much like the T2 used to have back in the day, you can lead your targets with the gun. Of course, I'm terrible actually taking part of that, but there you go. Yeah, this is probably the most all-round plane out there. This is the most... It's a workhorse, really.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very good.
You can use it in air-to-air combat with the two AIM-9Js. You can use it in air-to-ground combat with the GAU and all the ground options in the AGM-65s. And let me see if I can get a little strafe on a tank as well, because I do have the ground target belts loaded, which gives me quite a bit of a penetration. So let's see if we can actually kill a tank in a top-down attack as well.
Give it a
do
go.
a little loop, drop some flares.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Breathtaking.
I'm even not going to talk, just listen to the sound.
Okay. I can't hear it, but I imagine it's nice.
It's a lot of bird.
A lot of Bert.
It's a lot of bird.
Too many Berts in one place.
Way too many birds. One bird, two tanks.
Don't say that.
That was more like the two birds, one stone thing.
Yeah.
The
Bad
bird is
analogy.
the stone.
What do you mean?
I mean, technically just throwing very fast stones.
I mean, sure. I annoyingly cannot dispute that as a term. So there you go.
Bullets are just very fast stones. There you go.
That may have been the worst thing we've ever said.
Very much so. And that is the F5E. I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of fun with this one. This is going to be my new favorite plane. It's just so incredibly versatile. But if you happen to be far away from unlocking the F5E, given that it's after the F104 line, don't fret. Because you can also buy the F5C, which is currently on pre-order. And this one is actually quite amazing because it gets a very special camo from a very special movie, which I sadly don't have unlocked to this account, so I can't show you the camo.
But it is very, very nice, we promise.
I mean, the base camo itself also looks quite nice. And side difference here, you have 2 flare launchers on the sides instead of just one underneath on the F5E, which should still be here somewhere. It's a bit hidden underneath. But you can see actually the F5E has less flares than the F5C does, given that you have to double up the launchers here. And your ordnance options are very similar to the F5A in the Chinese tech tree. You don't get AIM-9Js in this one, you only get AIM-9Es. Once again, you can only carry 2 of them on the wingtips, but you get quite a selection of bombs, of rockets, and even the bullpup missiles. So no AGM-65, but the bullpups are, in some situations, actually more useful.
Yeah, they are pretty good.
You can just use them like a regular dump-fired rocket, but with a lot of boom. So if you carry this one, for example, it's a very good loadout for ground army.
Very good.
4 launches, 4 relatively easy kills. These are quite powerful rockets, missiles, and you can do some good stuff.
Some good stuff indeed.
Some very good stuff. Okay, we have actually gone over time way. We've just been talking too much about each individual vehicle. Honestly, I am really looking forward to this, and this isn't even all of it. No, there is more coming. There is more vehicles coming. This is not what everything that we've shown. This is everything that we could show, but not everything that we have to show for the update.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So I guess we can maybe take a few minutes to answer some questions. If you have some questions, leave them in the chat down below. We have some mods who are going to pick out some of the most interesting ones about some of the new vehicles and stuff like that. And then we are going to go, and tomorrow... No, wait, no. When?
What day is it?
I actually don't know. What day is it?
It's Friday.
Oh. Okay, I'm wrong then. Never mind. Anyway. Those of you who have been with Waffen for a while may notice that usually these dev preview streams precede something. So keep an eye out for that.